Thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it very much. Okay, let me just check to make sure everything's working, and then I'll tell you how this is going to go. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so thank you guys so much for coming. If you're unaware of who I am, I don't know why you're here, but I appreciate you coming. I see some familiar faces in the audience. This is cool. So my name is Aaron Marshall, otherwise known as Intervals on the internet, and I'm here on behalf of Schecter Guitars, of course, and Zedem. So thank you guys so much for bringing me here to Montreal. It's been a little while since I've been here, so it feels really good. Clinics are a bit of a different format. We don't have to scream over crash cymbals. I won't be jumping off a kick drum. We're just going to play some tunes, and largely this event will be guided by you. We're going to take questions after I play some music for a little bit, and we just kind of see where the conversation goes. So definitely brainstorm a little bit on anything you'd like to ask me. Pretty much anything goes, maybe no life advice. Otherwise, gear and nerdery and maybe my process and music and things about art and stuff like that are all acceptable for sure. So yeah, have a think on anything you want to ask me, and I'll start off with a couple tunes. The setup is I've got a Fractal Audio FM9 on the ground. The laptop's doing some MIDI switching if you're wondering how sounds are changing and stuff. We've got the magic of technology on our side. So quick disclaimer, the tracks that I'm going to play with are available through sheethappenspubishing.com. You can also have these if you fancy yourself some intervals karaoke at home. So you can do this too. I'm going to start off with a couple tunes from my latest record called Memory Palace. The song is called Neurogenesis. Thank you. Sound good out there? Yeah, you guys having a good time? All right. Not bad. I didn't play a single real note. It's real. Yeah, it's all just in there. Okay. Let's do another one while the fingers are working. Let's do, the song's called Nootropic. Awesome. Thank you. Very nice. Okay. So you've had time to brainstorm. I'm going to let somebody raise their hand and start this conversation off with something you'd like to know, and we're going to work in a direction from there. So please, if you feel like you have something you want to know, raise your hand. If not, I'm going to threaten more music at you. It's going to happen anyway, but please feel free. Don't be shy. If somebody's got a question, they want to know something about my process or the gear or something, yeah, please. Yeah, so he's basically asking how I set up my sounds inside the Fractal. So I do one preset per song. Helps me just kind of organize, what I need to do. I'm kind of a little bit OCD, so I like to have, BPM mapped. It's just nice to file everything away under, one preset per song. And then I'll do scenes. Yeah, so just different combinations of effects. I try to simplify some things and I overcomplicate others. So the things I simplify these days are I use one impulse response for all my sounds. That if you don't know what an IR is or an impulse response, it's a simulated cabinet, like a guitar cabinet. My logic is that we have the technology to change everything, but if you were playing through a regular amp on stage, your speaker wouldn't change every time you decide to change a sound, right? It's kind of unrealistic. And for a long time, I was struggling with dialing in live sounds that felt like they fit in a mix or fit into the sound of the band. And I realized that, changing the speaker all the time is kind of like you're like a moving target for your sound person. So that's one variable that I keep the same. Another is I just have like 4 amps that I use. Try not to overdo it there. I'm a bit of an overdrive snob, though, so I'm definitely like always playing with, how much... how bright my overdrive is, how much saturation I have in the front of the amp. Like those little moves, more creative decisions. And then effects, of course, how much modulation, how much reverb, how much delay, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and then I just use scenes. In the Fractal, you get 8 scenes per preset. I do my best to limit my moves to 8 moves per song if I can. And then if I can't, if it's super integral to the song and there's more moves to be made, I make a duplicate preset and I put the additional presets there. The Fractal is amazing because you can do gapless switching across the entire unit, including presets, not just in scenes. So I can go from patch 0 to patch 700, and there's no gap in the audio, including the reverb and the delay tails. So I could actually put anything anywhere. I'm just trying to keep myself limited a little bit. But that's kind of how I do it. Is that cool? Okay, really nerdy to start. That's awesome. Anyone have anything related to that? Anything gear related? We can switch lanes as well. Anybody else? Please. Yeah. Yeah, so there's kind of only really 2 places to put it. You either put it in front of the amp or you can put it... I mean, I suppose you could put it after the amp and before the cabinet, but in the digital environment, really, after the cabinet's kind of the best place to put it if you want to do... imagine you mic'd up an amplifier and you brought it into the studio environment. You would be putting all of your effects after the microphone and after the preamp. To get the full stereo width, of course, the best thing that you can do is put your modulation after the speaker. So if you even have just, a 57, like a mono speaker impulse, when you use modulation, you have the ability to widen the signal as much as you'd like. I'm only ever really doing maybe 30%. On really exaggerated tones, I might use 50%. I'll try to point out some examples maybe as we kind of move through, but yeah, it's only ever 25%. And I like modulation in front of the amp, but that's, unless you're running 2 amplifiers, it's just folding into mono. And there, I would actually prefer a flanger or a phaser than a chorus. I kind of like that feeling, slow phase, or the flange is a little more talkative, if that makes sense. And chorus for me is about achieving width. I'll also use micro pitch shift as well, kind of like the Van Halen pitch detune. I can actually show you that. So in the first song, it might be subtle here in the room, I don't know, but here's my dry rhythm. And then I have a copy that has this micro pitch shift. You probably hear it more so than I do, yeah, with a little bit of width. And it's just it's the pitch block after the cabinet, and it's like minus 9 cents on the left side, plus 9 cents on the right side. And since it's just static pitch detuned, it's not moving like a chorus, which I find to be a little bit goofy on rhythms. You know, on the lead though, I like that, but on the rhythms, I want to just kind of park it, and then I delay them, so it's actually kind of loose. It's like 25 milliseconds late on one side and maybe like 15 milliseconds late on the other. And then it's like 20% blend, and it's just like my dry sound up the side. And it's just kind of like, it's like two guys doubling you on the outsides, and they're just a little bit lazy. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it's, and it gives you the double tracked impression. And I'll do that when Travis takes a lead, or I'll have the micro shift on him when I'm taking the lead and he plays rhythm. It's kind of a way to fake a double. Yeah, pretty cool. That's a good question. Anything else kind of stemming from that? Can also switch lanes. Go ahead. Have I ever used the fractal for recording? I definitely use it during the pre-production process. I don't know that I've ever... the shape of color is likely fractal on the leads, I think. Because that was kind of like... that. Yeah, I made it in 2015. It came out in 2015, actually. That was before I believed in plugins. Yeah. Like, I wasn't there yet, you know? They weren't either, I don't believe. In 2015? Were plugins all sick in 2015? I can't remember. I know I think the moment I committed, or at least I believed in them, you know, started believing in the Easter Bunny was like Circadian, so like 2020. That's when, you know, all the sick plugins were. And for me, it's not about sound, it's about feel when it comes to that stuff, because they've always sounded good. Like the first Faceless record is like Guitar Rig. Or what's the Waves one? I need some Uber nerds in the crowd. Nobody knows. What's that? Waves GTR. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Michael Keane used that on the first Faceless record, and it sounds sick. Probably felt terrible, but no shade at Waves, but we just weren't there yet. And I'm a little bit of a diva when it comes to that stuff. Like, it needs to feel like I have amps, and they're sick, and the Fractal's been sick for a long time. So it needs to feel really good, because I need to believe it when I play it, you know? So, but the Fractal is the way for live, you know? Like, I live inside this box, so yeah, I know it really well, and it always serves me well, so nice. Okay, maybe one more, and then I'll do some more music. Anybody? In the back, yeah. A perfect show, I never touch it with my feet. Like, if you never see me touch it once, other than when I decide to, like, show you an example, if I never have to touch this thing, that's a perfect show. And from the very beginning, I've been automating the show. Like, from my first interval show, we opened for the Contortionist, Textures, the Human Abstract, and Periphery. It's like 2009. It was the Frack the Gods tour. And it was our first show. And I had the, like, Behringer, the little silver thing with the black buttons, you know? Like, when everyone was like, what's MIDI? Yeah. I had that with, like, a Axe FX 2. And I think, I tell a lie. I think I might have done that show with it. And then from there, I learned how to automate. And I never looked back. I don't actually think I could do it. I'm kind of, like, too in my head about, like, what I'm trying to achieve here, and pickup switching is enough. And there's a muscle memory to all of it, and could I learn it? Like, yes, I could push myself, you know. But I don't want to have to do that. And we've had the laptop will go down, and then I've had to get myself out of some sticky situations, and it doesn't feel good. Because the muscle memory is not there, so I'm, like, worried about. And you hear how fast some of those, like, I might have a 4 count on, like, a lo-fi filter, and then I'm right back. And God knows where I came from and where I'm going. So I don't know. I try to label everything really neatly, so if I ever had to, like, grab the wheel, in theory I could, but bruh. You're nobody trying to do that, yeah. So that's cool. Okay. If somebody has another one, shout at me. Otherwise, I'm threatening music. I'm going to change guitars, and then we're going to do another one. So feel free if you got one. That's a no. We're not a talkative bunch, okay. We're just here for the business. We're here for the business. Okay. Well, this is a good segue for me to talk about these, actually. So I'll tell you a little bit about these. So I am here on behalf of Schecter, of course, and everything that you see me playing tonight is from their USA custom shop. As you can see, I'm playing a clone of the one behind me. This is actually prototype number 1, though, which is cool. It's mine. You can't have it, but you can have this one, which is cool. And, of course, there's my Diamond Series models as well, which are a little bit of a different spec. That was the first project that we did together. These ones were... So the ones on the outside were born of a bit of a pandemic project between Schecter and myself. And it was really cool, actually. Like, the assignment was, like, make a cool workhorse guitar that does all the tricks and isn't really like anything that was on the market at the time. So Wenge neck, you know, it's a basswood body. It's really simple spec, actually, but they sound really good. They're very addictive. Pickups sound great. Yeah. So that's what's going on with the Diamond Series. These are the USA guitars. This was the prototype for the for this series, and this is an alder body with a roasted maple neck and fingerboard, and it comes with these funky tuners, which your guitar tech will hate you for because you can't get a winder around them. But they're really nice. I don't know if you look at guitar. Well, we all look at guitars on the internet, right? Yeah. And you know, sometimes they line all the tuners up in a straight line. You ever see that in a picture? You ever notice that? You're gonna look for it now. On the headstock, the tuners are always in a straight line. And that doesn't ever happen in real life. The day that happens on your guitar in real life, buy a lottery ticket. But these sort of like make me happy because I don't have to worry about it. I know it's a weird detail. It's my OCD. But I think it's really cool. It's kind of utilitarian. They feel really good. In this exact moment where I'm talking to the audience and I have to tune, it's like really confident. They're very like fine ratio, so I like the way they feel. They are just hipshot tuners. We 3D printed the prototypes and then we mass produced them. They feel really cool, and they make me feel like the emoji getting a head massage. You know that guy? That's how it makes me feel. So let's tune this down. Okay, I'll also tell you. There is a block of mahogany behind this trem, so you're going to see me do this weird ghosty muscle memory thing where I'm reaching for a trem arm that isn't here. I blocked it so I could do multiple tunings on the guitar. We can only travel with 3 guitars, and I'm an idiot, and I write music in too many tunings. So, the other guitars that I'm playing do come in fixed bridge as well, and we'll talk about the specs on those when I pull the next one out. So... yeah, we're going to do, let's do something from Circadia. I haven't played this in a minute. Let's see how it goes. This is 5-HTP. Thank you. Been a minute since we did that one. Okay. All right. I'm going to tune up real quick, and then we're going to get into another one. I think I'll switch albums. Let's see here. Yeah. I think I'm going to do one from the way forward, if that sounds good. Okay. Let's do, let's see. Yeah, okay. The song's called Leave No Stone. Thank you. Nice. Too many notes in that damn thing. Shit, who writes this stuff? That's crazy. Okay, you've had time to brainstorm, please. Who's got something? Yes, in the front row with the Way Forward shirt on. Very on brand, my dude. Thank you. Appreciate it. Favorite tuning? Drop C. We're going to go there next. That's like the middle of the piano in my brain. You know what I mean? C. Just feels good. It's like the center of the universe, you know? And it was like the first 6-string tuning I wrote, like the original interval stuff in. And it's felt good on the last record to come back to it. And I really enjoy being there again. So, yeah. Today it's drop C. Tomorrow it's something else. Yes, my friend back here. Mm. I am anal retentive, yes, I am. Yeah, it's like it usually starts with a riff, maybe a chord progression. I like riffs though, because they're kind of like a seed you can water into a song plant. And a riff will contain like a rhythmic motif, and it'll sort of imply chords, depending on the style of riff, of course. But usually there's like some underlying progression or movement that can be tapped into. Like if you take away a lot of the busy stuff surrounding, whatever it is that makes up the riff, you break it into its elements, and you kind of have the song there, Leave No Stone is a decent example of that, like what I just played. You'll probably notice like that main motif, that kind of like slide up, octave, fifth, slide up, like that thing. One, that's a trope of my, like, I don't want to say early playing, like, but something around that time, Shape of Color, Way Forward, these moves just felt natural, so I lean into that. But there's a motif there, so I try to find it in the riff, find it in the melody in the chorus, maybe hint at it in places, borrow it, take it, use that thing, over a different chord or in a different place, and there's always like, if you leave yourself breadcrumbs, you can find your way to the song, I think. So the riff is cool for that. Chords are an interesting one for me because well, let me frame it this way. People usually say, oh, you must write your melodies first because this music's so melodic, right? But I think a melody with no underlying progression or harmony is just like Happy Birthday. You know what I mean? It's just notes with nothing, right? I need the canvas first. You don't just paint in the air, right? You set the canvas up, Maybe you color a little sky in, you put a little water down, then you figure out how the mountains feel, So I need context, yeah. But I like riffs because they are like a little mini universe or whatever. So it usually starts there, and then the process, of course, is to scratch it into the DAW. Program drums are liberating because then I don't have to pretend like the snare's on 2 and 4, like the snare is on 2 and 4, So and then I can hear variations, audition variations, etc. And lately my thing has been move horizontally before I start expanding vertically. I can get lost in the vertical. I think a lot of us can, right? You put that riff down and you're like, what's the harmony? What's the synth doing? It's like, nah, you're going to do it. Go this way, Because when you're hot, like when you have the mojo for an idea, it's that moment where you go, of course it goes here next. Like you need that like portal that you step through, that door you step through. And that's a fleeting moment, because a lot of the time we write the riff and then we stare at it for 2 weeks and we go, where does it go? Right. So if you have the mojo, keep moving that way. Because you can come back and spin your wheels up and down all day long. Of course you know where the synth goes. It's made from things you've already put down, right? So, yeah, and that's my thing lately is I try to, And I keep going back. Talked about this last night in Quebec City. I heard Guthrie say that, like, a huge part of his process, at least for the erotic cakes material, was if it all works vertically in the looper, everything layered on top of itself, there's absolutely no reason that when you like scatter the Jenga tower, that it doesn't just go that way too. You know what I mean? Isolated moments on their own, of course. And if they function together, even better, because then they're like puzzle pieces and they all like mean something to each other. It's all made from the same substance. I like that. And I'm not a big fan of shoehorning the riff from last month in my voice notes into a thing. Very rare that I allow myself to do that unless I know I got one. But if it's like 40 BPM off in a different key, that's a different headspace. I know we can manipulate and warp these things. Like you can pull samples in from Splice and you can chop them and warp them and do all that stuff. That's fine, but that came from someone else's head, and I'm looking for that as more of a to solve a problem. But if I want to have like a through line, like thorough syntax in the ideas that I create, and without lyrics, like I need to believe it. I need to believe I'm telling you a story. I need to believe I'm telling myself a story. Looking for bits and pieces scattered just to get the job done is not how you tell a story. Is that cool? Yeah, it's a great question. Awesome. Yeah, in the back. For sure. That's a good question. Yeah, jamming or like a concept or something. Let's see if I can show you. Let's do this because I just played it. To find a pleasant tone to do this with real quick. Where are you? Yeah, you. The magic of MIDI. Okay. No. Yes. There we go. Okay. So like 5-HTP, for example. That's the whole song, right? And it's a seemingly simple idea on its face. And that's kind of the point. The whole album was written. I had a track one and I scrapped it. And it's not common for me, but it didn't feel right. Kind of like what we left off on. Like if it doesn't serve the overall vision, if I feel like I'm shoehorning or I can't justify why this is there, I'll cut it. That doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say I wrote this song frantically, but there was a vibe I was searching for to start Circadian with. And I just, it's like this minor 9 thing. And then I'm voice leading the melody. So 9th chords are clearly the motif. And I thought that was an interesting kind of place to go. And it's like, okay, that's the call. So the response is. Right? Question and answer, right? It's just a simple idea. But it only ever shows itself in the intro and then in the reprise before the final chorus in that form. Otherwise, I've broken it out into the melody on its own, and I put the chords downstairs, you know what I mean, rather than having them all here, right? And that's kind of what I mean by these little micro ideas, whether it's a riff or maybe a voice-led melody or something like that. The harmony's implied, the pocket's there because I know where to place it all, and the melody exists on the chords. Job done. Now it's my sort of like the task or the assignment is to like sort out the order in which these things occur and how separated from the initial idea are they, So yeah, that's like a decent example of like a really rudimentary, not supposed to be complicated or crazy. It's just supposed to be sweet and infectious, which is exactly how that song was designed to be, right? And there's also a call to a melody that happens later in the record on a song called Dose as well, and they're interlinked. And then I linked the song titles because that's nerdy. And I like that, right? And without lyrics, I'm trying to tell a story. And I've only got so many ways that I can do it, so that's how I do it. Excellent. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. It's a great question. The shape of color and the way forward were super abstract in the sense that I was just writing, and then I'll figure it out later. All right, so as long as it feels like they belong together, I'll weave the story somehow in a crafty way, and I'll be like, okay, this is what it's about, and this is what they all mean, and this is the umbrella that it all goes under, or whatever. Circadian was the first time I had a concept in mind first. There was a kind of a vibe and a story I wanted to tell based on just like my interests at the time. It was my pandemic record. We were all moving slower, and I had been moving too much for the decade leading into 2020. And I was like, oh, the world's going to take a break. I'll take one too. And trying to, like circadian is like a metaphor for balance. And the balance theme is something that's been in everything that I've done since The Shape of Color. The song Libra is kind of like a nod towards like cheeky, but my zodiac sign. And, I'm an only child. My parents we're all born within the same week of each other, like 3 Libras, not the perfect circle vibe, but my vibe. And the Libra scales and that sort of like symbolism is important to me because balance is something that I always kind of strive for. And never really feel like I'm achieving. So that's the goal. And circadian was a cool metaphor for that because aligning your circadian rhythm and lining yourself up with the natural cycle of things is like not only a metaphor for balance, but like not resisting. And just like there's a cycle and we go with that and we're better off when we give in. So that's kind of where that came from. And then the music just starts to happen. Like whatever the headspace is at the time, I try to like evoke feelings in myself that go with, I'll kind of contradict myself and I'll say I have a note of song titles. So I don't do voice notes per se. I definitely record riffs on voice notes, but I don't go looking to like piecemeal them together into music, but I definitely have a massive note of potential song titles. And then I'll start culling them down and curating them into like, these all serve each other. And there's definitely a story here. And then when I had the circadian sort of like theme in mind, I was like, okay, that works. This is a vibe. That's a vibe. And then it started lining up with music that I was already making. Perfect, right? Because if I feel like that's natural and there's no resistance, I'm doing exactly what I'm trying to do. And if it's making me excited in the process, then I'll feel good about it. Memory Palace was similar. I knew I wanted to like hint at this idea of like, okay, we talked about, seeking balance and like, kind of that, the biohacking kind of vibe of like aligning yourself in circadian. And then it was like muscle memory seems really interesting. And that's more of like a micro theme inside that concept. And it plays into everything that we do. Like my mom always used to be like, how do you remember everything? And I thought that was really cute and kind of like an innocuous question. But to me, I'm like, no, how do I do, and like, how do we do that? Right. Whether you're an athlete or a musician, whatever, muscle memory is really intriguing to me. And, there's I don't, forgive my ignorance because I forget who coined the phrase, but there's a quote if you start getting into, some of these concepts, I guess. What wires together fires together. It's a really interesting thing. It's more so about our habits and like our emotional response to things or like, patterns, like, why somebody might, your partner might say something to you and it seems like on its face, if you just isolate it, it shouldn't really piss you off. But in the moment, you have like a visceral response to it because we're always reacting to things. And it's interesting because there's the emotional side, but then there's like the metaphysical side of like how we do things, And I always feel like in that like search for balance, I need to chill out. Like I really need to, but I'm so forward dominant, like everything is like really intense, and that's what makes musicians. I think most of us have that, like can't turn your head off, can't turn your hands off, but that's what makes us so efficient at tapping into that. And I love the thought process. I also love this concept that there's this theory that we can't grow new neurons, like we can't learn, like an old dog can't learn new tricks kind of thing. False, And there's natural ways to get there, and there's ways to to encourage just alone in the way you practice a thing, the way you believe a thing, picture a thing, envision a thing, like an Olympic athlete envisioning themselves winning that crossing the finish line in time or getting the goal or whatever. Like we literally have to do those things, and it's no different here. And I found it fascinating. Made a whole album about it, even though I can't tell you that through the music. It's there on the album cover. It's certainly there on the back cover and all the details. And I try to weave that into the music. So excellent questions, guys. Okay, does anyone have anything else before I threaten more music? In the back, please. All the time, for sure. I don't trust anyone that says they don't. No. Yeah, I think like I find the most inspiration in the music that got me excited about music in the first place. So I tend to go backwards. I love early 2000s, like all the music that I would like be excited about at the Warped Tour. You know, even though it plays like, even I'm a scene kid at heart. And it's like, even though it doesn't like really play maybe the most superficial or obvious role in what I do, there's a thing there that excites me. A melodic sensibility, or the way the music is arranged, or the energy in the music. Like, I'm loving this like early 2000s like screamo revival that's happening right now. You know, like all these bands that sound like the best Under Oath moments. Like, I'm living for that, because like I love that energy, and it's really inspiring to me. And it makes me think like, oh yeah, there was a thing there that I really like, and I wonder now that I'm so far gone in my own direction, what's my version of that? How do I tap into that? So those types of thoughts are really inspiring. And also music that just is kind of not related directly to the genre. You know, that's a cliche thing. You hear band guys say that all the time. I don't know, I play in a metal band. I listen to pop music. You know, you hear this all the time. And that's actually, I think that's a really good and honest thing. Modern metal and progressive metal, even now, even though the idea of progressive is that anything goes, right? No rules, right? And we can't really put our fingers on exactly what it is, but there's a sound. We know what the modern sound is, right? Whether it's like the thing that we're doing or whatever the modern metalcore flavor of the month is, or whatever. There's a sound we expect there, and I don't think it's about resisting that. I think that's the vehicle to tell the story. I think that's the framework. You put your own personal inputs inside that, and you shake them up, and you get something unique. So my love for drum and bass is what had me do a song with Cone Sound. Like the first track on Memory Palace, the first song I played tonight, is a collaboration with my favorite UK drum and bass duo. I never thought in a million years that we could do something like that, or that I could comfortably justify that sound inside my music. Pulled it off. Love that. Feels really good, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with stuff. I'll take huge departures and just go on tangents where it's like I'm only listening to Tycho for a month, or Comtrues, or, you know, I go on another Snarky Puppy binge, or, you know, some cool pop music, you know. The algo will just show me stuff, and I'm like, that's dope, you know. Like I'll give you a random example, super obscure. There's like a brand new young female pop artist from LA called Becca Packer. The Instagram just wants to show me that for some reason because it knows me. And I'm like, yeah, all her music slaps. I can't stop listening to it. Incredible arrangements. Her voice is amazing. And that's something that excited me early on as well, is I think like less than emulating all the other guitar players that you would expect, you know, the Vais and Satches of the world and stuff. I'm more excited by like back in the day when I was like, what if I tried to sound like Dallas Green when I did this thing? Or what if I tried to sound like Cove from Seosin when I play these notes? That is cooler to me. And even though I might not achieve that on the listener's end, it leads me to a thing, and that's what inspiration's all about, right? So, okay, now we're getting into it. These are good questions. Anyone want to piggyback off that, or do we do more music? Yeah, please, my friend, please. Thanks, man. Appreciate it, bro. Maybe The Shape of Color. Yeah, I think that was it. Even though aesthetically that music was so different than everything that came before it, but I think that was like what made me do that. If you go back and you listen to like how I play on the chorus in Matahari, for example, or how I sound in Epiphany, I'm like kind of going there in 2012, but we took the departure, of course. AVW is the outlier in the catalog. You know, interestingly enough, I go back and I revisit those tunes, and I hear myself trying to go there, but it was about, we had a vocalist. I mean, you have to serve the music. You can't just play over him, or just, you know, it'd be confused, and it just wouldn't be what the music deserves. So I could hear myself finding it, like the solo on Siren Sound, or how I play lead on Automaton or whatever. Like, it's there, but it wasn't the maestro the way I kind of found it afterwards. And then The Shape of Color was like, I was so I kind of had this like chip on my shoulder, and I had a point to prove. So I tuned the guitars up. It was like E standard. I'm not relying on drop tuning even. Like if I can't make a record with just some power chords and like standard tuning stuff, then like I'm not worth my salt as a guitar player. This was a really toxic headspace, by the way. Don't do that. But like I felt I needed to do that for some reason, and then it really made me overcompensate with like the lead voice, but it pushed me to find that thing because I was like, I'm not putting these songs out until I feel like they're complete. And they started to feel complete, and I started to feel like I was talking through the instrument the way I wanted to. Really started to find it in the way forward. And then Circadian was when I felt like I still sound like me, but now stylistically, the music is starting to, the production is going where I want it to go. I'm starting to like lean back on some of those more nostalgic stuff. When I was writing Circadian, I was listening to like, I was listening to like Amberlynn again, and I was listening to like, the self-titled Seosin record. I was listening to, there's an, we'll see. I know my homie here might know. Do you remember the Fully Down? Does anyone know the Fully Down from Ottawa? No, nobody knows this reference. Band from Ottawa, super sick. They played Warped Tour and stuff. They were kind of like, they're like a 3-guitar progressive pop punk band. Really ADHD music, constantly changing arrangement. The arrangements were so sick. There's like Iron Maiden moments, but they're pop punk. Really dope. Everyone should check out, the record is called Don't Get Lost in a Movement by the Fully Down. You'll literally hear early intervals in it. And I was revisiting 4 Year Strong again and like stuff like that. And that's how Circadian kind of came to be. So I'm like, let me do that, but with everything I learned from the other records. And the Memory Palace is like, okay, but let's tune the ropes down a little bit, and let's go find the old stuff again, and let's up the production more. And I feel like that's the melting pot of where the aesthetic is going where I want it to go, and I continue to sound like me. So yeah, long response for that, but yeah, it's a cool question. And I think these days, like somebody asked last night, what's the difference between you collaborating with an artist and somebody who hits you up to like feature on a song? And it's exactly that, like when the home team hit me up for Love & Co., it was like, we want the sauce, and it's like they expect a thing, and I know exactly what to provide for that. But when I'm collaborating to my own wicked end, like something with Cone Sound, for example, that's an exciting place because I'm trying to be really light touch, and I want the other people to kind of guide, and I want to react. It's different than my usual process, but that's where the magic happens. So sick. Okay, I think I'm going to switch it up. We'll get into a couple more tunes. Let me show you this. Oh, I love this thing. Yeah. So we'll get back into the nerdy stuff. These guitars were from a limited run that we did last year. You'll notice the spec is a little bit different on these. Please ignore the giant blemish in the back of this guitar. The Bangkok airline guys were not kind to my guitar last time we were in Thailand. These are mahogany body with a roasted bird's eye neck, the silly tuners, and these amazing flame tops and ebony boards. So these guitars have a bit of a different tonal quality than the Alder guy, which you'll notice is a little brighter, a little snappier. I really like this. This is in drop C, 11 to 56. Can't believe we haven't talked about strings yet. That's impressive, guys. Good for everybody. We're all getting better, guys. That's amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause. I used to make the joke I should get them tattooed on my forehead. 11 to 56 NYXLs. I'm a D'Addario guy. Have been for a long time. They're bright and amazing and reliable. I don't have very acidic sweat. They last me forever. I'm lazy. It's great. So, yeah. Okay. Let's do... where are you? There you go. Speaking of muscle memory, here's a song that kind of alludes to that. The song is called Mnemonic. Thank you. Also, too many notes. That's a tricky one. Nice. Okay. Let's take a couple more, and then we'll get into the last tune I got for you guys. Anybody got something? Please. Can you be more specific? Tips for tracking. You need to be painfully honest with yourself about what's happening when you isolate a moment. And tracking yourself is one of the most exposing things that you can do. I don't know what's going on down there. Got a mind of its own, apparently. Yeah, I don't know. I think like timing is well, I mean, of course, like note accuracy and your articulation and your intention with it, is important. I think timing is the backbone of all of that, though, because you can have a wonderful take, like, let's say you're aiming for a really nice bend, or you want to get like a nice overtone on a particular note, but if it's not in time, it's not going to work, right? So I think timing really matters. I don't want to say metronome work because, interestingly enough, I've never really dedicated myself to like blatant metronome only practice. I find that to be really arbitrary. So tracking is actually the only metronome work that I do. Something like, let's see, I'm just get a decent tone for this. I'm in the wrong tuning. I'm gonna do it anyway. So like a sequence like lock and key. Like when I wrote it on keys first as like a MIDI line. And I didn't really have the ability to get it at tempo. There's like a clip in the making of Circadian where I'm like, I don't know, I'll try it on guitar. And I was like worried about it. It's funny because now it's like part of my vocabulary. I couldn't do that before for some reason, but it's like 5 years ago. And I was still like, really exploring hybrid picking and stuff, et cetera, right? Well, how did I get it there? It was through obviously incrementally working that tempo up. Yeah, you can do the like overshoot it by 5 BPM thing and try to knock yourself back and see, if that maybe sorts it out. There's tricks to try to get it there, but that only addresses timing. It doesn't really address, the inflection or articulation or anything. So you just need to like be really honest about what's not happening in that moment. And I have a question for you, actually. When you're tracking, are you trying to do are we talking like 8 to 16 bars at a time? Are we talking about punching a moment? Like, could you be more specific? Yeah. Ha. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of a proponent for assembling it the way you need to, and I'm not talking note by note, but I am totally saying that 4 to 8 notes at a time is acceptable if, much like I said, overshooting the BPM by 5 or 10 and then coming back to sort of trick yourself, assembling it and learning how to actually replicate it afterwards could be healthy. Don't push yourself to be like, I don't deserve to record this if I can't play these large chunks. You're composing. You're not. I don't think it's healthy to try to be like refine the performance of a thing and also compose at the same time. These are two different headspaces. We see clips on Instagram or on YouTube, and we have an impression that guys are sitting down and doing these giant takes. It might not be the one on the album, Bubby, and it likely isn't. Okay, it's for the camera. Some guys, yeah, for sure. There are freaks among us, You just named one. He's in the house. But let's also be honest. Like, we're trying to refine a finished product, and I'm punching stuff all day long. But I never commit to anything in my music that I know I can't perform live, and everything I've ever been worried about are the things that have pushed me to the nth degree are things that I have delivered for 1,000+ people on stage. So I know where my limits are and where they aren't, and I also know that those moments have made me grow into something that I might not be at the time, but I will be. So be easy on yourself when you're composing and just worry about making the music, and then take the whole song down 25 BPM and work through that. Don't just fixate on a moment, Get it in how you got to get it and live with that. And also, by the way, just like we were talking about, like programming muscle memory and these types of things, finish the composition however you have to do it. and take it for a walk or a drive or whatever, and like ingrain that thing in there, because that's just as healthy, and that's going to build those neural pathways for you to be able to pick your instrument up and work at 20 BPM slow, and tomorrow 15, and then 10, and then 5, and then you're there, right? You will get it. So, yeah, just be kind to yourself in the process. Yeah. That's a sick question, though, for sure. Anybody else?
Yeah, just a quick one from the chat. We got our first question from the chat.
Okay.
So yeah,
we're gonna come back to you, my friend. We're gonna come back to you. Let's go.
All right. So we have someone on YouTube asking. I'd like to ask him if he remember what was his thought process in the making of Meridian. This song holds a special place in my heart. It cuts deep in nostalgia, melancholic way.
Oh wow, Meridian. Yeah, I haven't. That's a song from The Shape of Color. Haven't played it in a long time. What was my thought process? Interestingly enough, it became part of like an unofficial like 3-part series of songs. There's like Meridian and The Waterfront and then Earthing, and they're all an album apart. And there's like a theme in there that I really liked. How's that one thing go? I'm in the wrong tuning. I'm going to do it anyway. Hold on a second. Let's see here. That thing. And it's funny because I think these days I'd be tempted to hybrid pick that. Yeah, with my finger. Right, that kind of. But back then when I wrote it, I don't think that was something I was really into. So I remember just bouncing the pick off it all crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Just like a thing. Just like we were talking about riffs before. Sometimes a little thing like that is enough. There's a chord progression there. There's some stuff going on. I can't remember exactly all the moments in that tune. It's a good one, too. I should put that back in the set. It's a very convoluted answer for our friend from the internet. But I don't know exactly what the headspace was. There's just a vibe in that little loop and the chords. And there's a bunch of cool ambience in that song. And then, oh, yeah, and the song ends with some acoustic guitar and like a weird fade out. I should revisit that. Thank you for reminding me of my own song. Mr. Internet Man, I appreciate that. That's dope. Okay, we had one in the house, though. Yeah, please. No plug-in? You're sick, bro. That's sick. Twisted. No, we've used amps on the last few albums, but I didn't play through them. We reamped. So, but that's a 2026 man thing to say, right? So, the Rev Generator 120 is the rhythm sound on Memory Palace. It's all sick. I could easily just be happy with that for a rhythm sound. I'm trying to think. You know what's interesting? Like, obviously, my lead voice is probably my main voice. I leave the leads. Yeah, Shape of Color was fractal. We talked about that. The Way Forward had a bunch of stuff. There was a Mesa Triple Crown on that record. There was a Sir PT100 on that record. I just don't remember what the hell we did with the leads on that thing. Circadian is all the 5150 and Nolly's thing, and the leads in Memory Palace. I used a ton of here's a weird one. I used a ton of Helix Native on Memory Palace. I really like that because I started using it like a modular pedal board. And you said no plugins. I fucked this up already. I was gonna get into it too. I was gonna give you the sauce, but no. Okay, I was using Helix Native like a pedal board in front of like some of my favorite neural plugins for the stuff it doesn't have. Like, I want a clon in front of a thing. It doesn't have a clon. I want a whatever. And then I got curious, and I started messing with the amps, and I really like the Soldano and the Friedman in Helix Native, and they're just sick. An amp model is an amp model these days. They're all cool, right? So with the right IR and the right overdrive, and if it's convincing me, I'm stoked. I will tell you, though, probably the most unique amp that's ever been on an Intervals recording, other than the fact that I blew up my own PT100 on the way forward, and Ian Thornley from Big Rec lent me his, which is a fun story. I reamped a bunch of twangy overdubs that I tracked with my Abasi Space T, and we reamped them through a Marshall JMP that was on Billy Talent 1 and 2 for a bunch of stuff on Memory Palace. when Sean, the studio manager, told me like about the lore of that amp, I was like, I don't care what we put through it, it's going on the album. That's so sick. So yeah, the real amps on that record are the Rev Generator 120, and I'll give the whole farm away. We did the Sir reactive load, and we went into we made the album at Studio A in Sweetwater. Insane place to make a record. Highly recommend. And as a Neve 5088, you know, it's only one of the greatest consoles known to man. And we went into like one of the channel strips, and we put like Neve Silk Red on the line level signal coming out of the load box before the simulated IR. So it's like I took a whole Neve console and put it in the effects loop of my amplifier. It's like it's like a $200,000 rig or some shit. Yeah, so sick. Can we tell? I don't know. I know though. I know we did it. So that's fire. Okay. Anyone gonna beat it for nerdy question? Yeah, let's go. Yeah, very poorly is how I manage it. Yeah. 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 I'm not the guy writing on tour. I'm not. I need that downtime and that away time, like almost like no expectations, no preconceptions. Interestingly enough, this is very on my mind right now because I'm about to go down that rabbit hole. We just finished up 5 weeks in Europe. These were on the calendar. I've got one more tomorrow. And then I'm off until the fall. So I'm going to do it. It's my summer. I'm going to be inside like a recluse, not enjoying the beach. It's going to be sick. No, I'll get outside, I promise. 10,000 steps a day. You need that too. But yeah, writing is like a really personal thing. I'm not the guy to write on Twitch. I'm not the guy to, you know, like share that process too much while it's happening. I'll talk about Neve Silk on the backside of the amp all day long after the record, but I can't do it in real time. I need to find all that stuff, and it's very much like a madman throwing paint at the wall type situation and just figuring it out. I've been demoing some stuff, trying to find where to go next. 4 LPs in a row. It's probably time for an EP, something bite-sized. I'd like to try something new, some new things maybe. So I'd love a mixed bag and just see what happens. And I'm kind of really enjoying this idea that there's like no preconceptions. It's a terrifying thought and an inspiring thought at the same time. So that's the headspace always when I'm starting. And then it's just the process we talked about. I just start finding things, and I'm really into finding inspiration in different places now, whether that's keys first, maybe a splice loop, maybe a vibe, maybe a picture. I'm that guy now, you know? Yeah, there are two headspaces because a new piece of gear can write a whole song for you very quickly. For example, yeah, like Galaxy Brain was born from a new guitar, you know? Like sometimes that happens, or a pedal, you know? These days we have these wild pedals that just make music for you. So, you know, that's cool. You know, might find a fun loop or something you want to chop up. Like the beginning of, I'll show you. Like this whole situation at the beginning of Nootropic. That's obviously the theme, right? But that whole chop and everything, that came out of the hologram microcosm. I just ran the melody through it, and we just like took big giant recordings, and then we just like comp taked our favorite like weird glitchy moments. And there was something like there was like a almost like a Scary Monsters, Nice Sprites, like Skrillex era thing that comes up. I'll show you. That moment makes me think of Skrillex for some reason. I was like, that's fire. Chop that, put it in. Like, it's just like those little things. So happy accidents are great for that. Other times, gear absolutely needs to screw off, and I need to just like riff out with like a dry tone and just get it. Like sometimes that really matters. I started getting into synths a lot during the pandemic, and something I learned was like, oh man, I got this new synth. I'm gonna write a song, and I would be going through the factory presets and I'd be finding stuff and da-da-da and trying to compose at the same time, and that is not the vibe. They're two different headspaces. The best thing you can do with a new piece of gear, if you're going to do the deep dive on the factory presets or find the bits that you like, that's the only assignment for the next hour. Star them, catalog them, label them. New plugins, if you've got a list of presets, go through and organize, like star the ones you like, so you can build a tool chest so that when you wake up fresh tomorrow to build a house, you didn't spend 2 hours in the Home Depot and now you're tired and shot before you even pick the hammer up. You know what I mean? So get your tools together, take a break, and then build. They're two different headspaces. So I try to separate those things. It's a sick question. Yeah. Do we have another before I get into this last tune? That's, yeah, please. Practice day is non-existent, which is really, the Easter Bunny is not real. I don't know. Writing music has always been like I need the carrot and the stick, and I need a lot of carrot. You know what I mean? So that's probably just my ability to focus. I do arbitrarily practice from time to time, but it has to be like rooted in concept. So if I'm like learning, the modes of a new scale, or I'm like trying to, crack some harmony stuff, or I found a little technique fragment thing that I want to explore, like that can be the goal, but I have to have a purpose. There is no like, I've got an hour, let's divide it into thirds and do the like that's great and it works for a lot of people, but since I started doing like music as my profession, I don't seem to be able to justify or find the time for that, because that time should be spent creating, but I practice when I make. So they come at the same time. For example, writing that lock and key sequence pushed me into like, being able to find that fragment anywhere and inside my own improv. And I've further expanded on that thing. It's just like a small thing that I've grown into just a rolling shape that I can just pull at any moment, But that came from writing music. It didn't come from arbitrarily being like, what happens if you hybrid pick a ninth chord? Like I can break it down later and reverse engineer it later, but yeah. So anyway, practice day, not really a thing. Warm-ups though. Okay. I've talked about these quite a bit, so I'll on like online and stuff. So I'll try to go through them a little bit quickly. But my favorite one is definitely, I aped it from the John Petrucci Rock Discipline DVD. It's this like staircase with the left hand. The biggest thing for me is like, I don't have a massive grip, so my hand's not very big, and I lose all the range in my fingers when I put my thumb over the top. I'm not Jimi Hendrix. I'm not Mark Holcomb. I can't do it. So staircase. And the idea, actually, if I do it right, I should be able to just do it while I talk to you. And what I'm doing is I'm inverting the center, inverting the outside, inverting the center, inverting the outside, right? And I didn't come up with this. This is definitely a John thing. This is one of my favorite things to do, because if I have 10 minutes for a throw and go, warm up, side stage at a festival, I have no green room, everything's chaos, all the gear's broken, whatever. Like I can still warm my hand up and know that the left hand grip is going to be there. It also forces myself into, like, for example, that last shape is harder than any chord grip or voicing that I'll probably play in an intervals show. This is very not so musical. This is it's like a Dillinger Escape Plan song or something. But it's not even about the right hand. You can keep yourself honest, but there's something mentally about this that really just like wires my brain and my hands together. And I'm like, okay, nice. The grip is there. I'll move it into like really scrunchy zones like this, where I have to pin my elbow and my shoulder down. The thumb is way back. This is so much harder than in the sort of here where it's all spread out. Maybe I'll do it in the middle of the neck. That feels different. Try that for a little while. That's a weird one. I'll kind of do that. Maybe I'll do some just alternate picking, pretty arbitrary. I might revisit something that gave me a rash on the show last night. Try not to overthink that too much. Examine, like we're talking about, be honest with yourself. I freeze those moments in time in my brain, which is very cruel, but I know where the wheels came off last night, and I'm going to revisit it, but I'm not going to obsess over it. We're just going to find out why. Try to touch it successfully one time and then move on and just revisit it in the show. Maintain deep breathing and just try to like approach that moment with confidence. And that's the only thing I'm really thinking about Practice days are non-existent. They exist inside the context of creating music. So, but don't listen to me about that. Practice. Take days like. By no means was that me letting you off the hook. You're going to practice, but I'm just in a different spot now, and I get really inspired, and I have those days where I do arbitrarily play guitar for the sake of it, and they're really refreshing, but I don't force them. It's like there's nothing on the calendar today. The coffee's shooting laser beams out of my eyes. It's time to like play some guitar, and I'll find my way to that. And often that gets derailed and starts turning into me making music, and that's a good thing too, right? Carrot and the stick. So, yeah, nice. Okay, let's do the last one. And if you guys can think of any questions I haven't kind of covered, we'll do those in the end. This one's epic, and it's the last song on Memory Palace, and we've been closing the show with this too. I really like this tune. It's called Chronophobia. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. I think, yeah, we're kind of getting down there. If we have any last ones, let's make sure this is your last chance. Let's do it. Or maybe we do it from the depths of the internet. One more in the back. Please. Yeah. Oh, no, the click is going the whole time live. Yeah. This is like, those are dicey moments in a clinic setting because there is no click while I'm playing. And that section is just like fade forever with no reference to like where I could look at the wave, I guess, but I just tuck it in there. I guess I could jack the volume down a little bit on those, but it's just for me here. So yeah. There's a moment in Leave No Stone where like I ring out and there's just like nothing but rest. Then I bring the band in with a line and then I take that solo right before the drum solo. I used to leave it as a game in clinics where I'd be like, it's like that Victor Wooten exercise where the click drops out. I used to leave it as a game for myself and be like, can I? And then, and then one happens and everyone's like, and it's dicey. I don't recommend it because, extra coffee that day and then it's just not a thing. So, yeah, you come in yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, it's just a guide for me. Yeah. It kind of breaks the fourth wall. I don't love it, but I need a couple of them. So. Anything from the depths of the internet, or no? I'm totally fine with that.
Pretty shy on YouTube, but we got a nice question on Facebook. No, not Facebook, Instagram. Just wait a sec. From Joey. All right, so question from Joey. When working off on a new idea, getting a vibe of a song, where would you start on the process? Drum first as a foundation or guitar as the groove?
Yeah, we kind of talked about that already. Like, yeah, it's probably guitar. I mean, I write stuff drums first. The first ever interval song was written drums first. That's the first. That's still winning. It's the first ever interval song. I haven't played that in a minute. But I wrote that as like the first exercise of putting MIDI on a piano roll and seeing what happens in Superior Drummer. I was like, and I'm like, what's the guitar do? And that was what it did. So yeah. Sometimes things will happen drums first for sure. I think Alchemy was drums first. That's like a kick sequence, just like a. Might have been a phone number. I don't know. Sometimes yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. Try phone numbers. That's cool. Yeah. Sometimes drums first. Mostly guitar first, though. Yeah. Anybody in the house? Have we got anything? One epic question to end on. Yeah, we haven't got one here. Say. Big responsibility, my dude. You want me to put you on? What's all sick right now? I was gonna reach for Spotify there. Okay, there's a band from I think they're Scandinavian called Carmen Jaka. You know this band? You already knew what I was gonna say. That's crazy. Yeah, KARMANJAKAH. You're not gonna remember that. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, okay, taking notes. All right. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Fully Down. Everyone go check out the Fully Down. Yeah, Carmen Jaka. This band's really dope. They're like Viljarda if they were Radiohead or something. Did I get it? Yeah, is that it? You know this band, right? They're sick. I want to take them on tour. I like that. There's a young band from Berlin called Via Nova. That's really dope. I like them. I just saw them with Thornhill in Toronto last week. I think they're really exciting. It's different. I like the production a lot. Yeah, I saw them play their first show in Canada on that Thornhill tour. Went down, lots of friends on that tour. It was really cool. Went early to make sure I could see them. Some of them came to see us in Berlin a couple weeks ago when we were there with Carnival and wanted to return the favor and check them out. And I was blown away. So sick. Who else is exciting right now? I'm going to embarrass you. My friend Joseph has a band called Portraits, and he's in the house, and he's also from Montreal. So shout out Joseph and Portraits. They're super sick. Check them out. If you like too many notes, they have too many notes. They have a song called Quentin Seventino. You're not ready for that. Sick. Yeah. Yeah. Also, my friend Felipe has a project called Northern that you should check out as well if you like Northern. Yeah, it's like the word Northern with all the other letters, like the unimportant letters taken out. Yeah, super dope if you like gazy, kind of sludgy post. We call it post prog. Did I just coin that? Would you call it post prog? It's like post prog, right? So sick. These guys are. There's a lot of talent in the room over there. I should pull out one more. Who's all sick? I don't know. I don't want to force it. We're going to leave it there. Yeah, that's what's up right now for sure. Good question for sure. Anybody else? Anybody else? Please. I'm not a hockey guy. I know you know my drummer, and that's Nathan's thing is hockey. And text him. Did he turn into a Habs fan? He's a diehard Leafs fan. Forever. No, I'm not a hockey guy. He's like iPad on the hi-hat stand, mid-show type beat. There was a moment. He's very reserved, like wacky little guy, but he's very reserved. And I've never seen him so excited. I think we beat the Bruins in 2023. We were at the House of Blues Boston, right? So like we're on turf too, sick. And Ken Susi from Unearth was there. And we were at the House of Blues Boston with Spirit Box on tour. And, we were like a couple minutes from stage, and he had the iPad in his hands. And I guess we beat the Bruins, and he's running up and down the green rooms, screaming at the top of his lungs. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen him so animated in my life. And he's wild when he plays, I don't have to tell you. Yeah, I'm not a hockey guy, though. So... I watched when the Jays and the Dodgers had it out in the World Series. That was fire. That was really cool. We were over in Europe, and we were staying like at the end of last year when it was all popping off, and we were staying up to like 3-4 a.m. every night watching the games in the bus. He had 2 iPads going at the hockey and the baseball going at the same time. Yeah. There's a clinical diagnosis for that one for sure. Yeah. Okay, let's end on an epic question. Who's got like that's a lot of pressure. Just let's do one more, and then we're going to wrap it up. Anybody got anything that I didn't say? Please. We'll do both. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so he's asking about a guest feature from a guitar player named Marco Sfogli, Italian guitar player, super sick. He's like, there's a dude you should check out as well. Not a band, it's not like the new exciting, but like, yeah, Marco Sfogli, Italian guitar player, incredible. It's like fusion stuff. He's a dude I've been trying to sound like for a long time. You can hear it. If you hear him, you'll know the vibes. It's amazing. He's so vocal. He makes the instrument talk. I love it. I just shot my shot. I had a solo section. I wanted Marco. I hit him up on Facebook Messenger. I was like, Marco. And he hit me back, and he was like, absolutely. And I was like, amazing. Just like, let me know what you need and how to compensate you. And I woke up the next morning to a WAV file. 1 take, done, over, refused payment. That's the story. Story is like my hero played on Circadian for nothing, and I've never met him in person. I just was in the DMs just like, Marco, and yeah, it was sick. He's the best. So nice. We were just in Italy too, but I think he lives in the north. We were in Milan. I feel like one day I just want him to pop out. I just want him to like run into him. There's some deadly Italian guitar players these days. My goodness. I don't know what's going on over there. These guys are crazy though. But Marco's like the OG. That's the guy right there. Nice. Please.
For me, something simple. You already talked about your string, but what about your thickness for your pick?
Let's end on pick thickness, dude. That's crazy. That's so epic. Dunlop Flow, .88. See, we didn't do the strings, but we got the pick, Gage. We did it. We did it. We hit nerd bingo. That's fire. Unless there's any stragglers, I just want to say, okay, we got none. Awesome. Shout out Zedem. Shout out Schecter, everybody that made this happen. You guys for coming. Really, really appreciate it. I've got 2 shows in Montreal coming up in the beginning of October. I can't tell you where or with who, but I will be in Montreal, and we're going to rock before the year is over, and I'm looking forward to it. We love playing music here. Thank you for spending your evening with me. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.